On the phone live, our aviation lawyer expert who we've been talking to. He's been giving us excellent perspective over the last several days since Tuesday. Ladd Sanger. Ladd, thank you again for joining us. You listened to Todd Inman. You heard Connie and I break down the headlines that have caught our eye. What races to the top of your mind about this new information he's giving on this Friday?
So number one, I've been talking about the different call-outs that the pilots make as they're going through the takeoff and the importance of V1 and VR. What we now know from the cockpit voice recorder and the briefing is that the pilots did everything according to their checklists and their top procedures. They got to V1, they decided to continue the takeoff. They had no abnormality. They got to VR, they continued the takeoff in accordance with their procedures. And it wasn't until after all of those speed call-outs had been made that they got the first alert, which was the persistent bell. And at that point, the aircraft is in the air. There's nothing the pilots can do to arrest this just critical catastrophic failure. So I think that's important for the pilots and their families to know that everything we see here now based on this CVR is that the pilots acted in accordance with their procedures and policies, and there was really nothing they could do. Number two, the left engine pylon was still attached to the engine. So these are designed to be frangible so that the engine can break off. I'm a little confused about exactly what he says is left on the engine with regard to the pylon, because he then said there's some pictures, but then later it looks like it's different than what we're saying. But what that's saying is that is going to be a focus of the investigation. Why did the pylon fail and cause the engine to depart the aircraft? And I think you then need to look at the heavy check in San Antonio. There would be no reason in the time since this plane left the heavy check in San Antonio for there to be maintenance work done on those kind of heavy attached fittings.
Ladd, how unusual is it that they would actually send people down there to look through any records from that heavy check that they did in San Antonio over 6 weeks?
Not unusual that they want to get all the aircraft's maintenance records, but obviously we have a major structural failure that led to this accident. That structural failure occurred in the area of the left engine. The major heavy check that was done in San Antonio would have been inspecting and working on those areas. So I think you're going to see the focus of the investigation be on what was done in San Antonio, how that work was done, what was reattached, what was inspected. We know that there were some cracks in this aircraft that were found during the inspection. We know that there was corrosion found in the aircraft. And there's going to be, as Mr. Inman said, voluminous maintenance records that need to be combed through. But focusing on that left engine and its attach points are going to be very, very important.
Ladd, give me your theory on what the persistent repeating bell is.
I think that the hint that Mr. Inman gave us is he said there was a persistent and repeating bell. He wouldn't speculate on what it was, although he said we know there was a fire. So there's fire warning systems in the aircraft that activate master caution warning systems, and the ding, ding, ding. A logical inference from what Mr. Inman said would be that would be an engine fire warning.
Let me ask you, let me give you a quote. You've been talking a lot about the left engine here with Connie and I. Let me give you his direct quote yesterday. We found multiple pieces of engine fan blades along with the main component of the engine of the #1 engine, which is on the left side of the aircraft. Does that maybe fill in some blanks as to what you were talking about with the pylon?
So the fan blades are the fact that there was disintegration and breakup of fan blades would be consistent with the engine falling off or moving. Remember that these fans are spinning at very high speed, and if there's any kind of movement, relative movement of airflow other than straight on, or you get the engine coming off the aircraft, it would that fan is going to contact the case. It's going to start damaging fan blades. So that would be consistent with what we're seeing is the engine falling off and fan blade damage. Those would go together.
All right. They also have asked, the NTSB has asked UPS for a plane with similar engine to look over it that's very similar. They want to see if they can, look at that and compare. Is that pretty standard as well?
Yes.
He said exemplary aircraft. Is there such a thing?
Well, it's exemplar. EXEMPLAR. In other words, sample. Similar.
Okay.
Gotcha.
What they're
Okay,
going to
thanks
be
for
doing,
clarifying that.
Sure. So what they're going to do is they're going to go to the exemplar aircraft, and they're going to look at the attached fittings. They're going to look at the different bolts and how they interface. They're going to document it photographically. Then they're going to look at the accident parts, and they may not be able to find all parts of this pylon and engine. That was another thing that Mr. Inman said. He said, we have video of it, but something to the effect of what we found on the ground is different than what we saw in the video, and it may. And my inference on that is that during the crash, the left engine pylon support area was further damaged, which we would expect. Could have been damaged also by the in-flight fire.
Ladd, can I ask you to hang on with us real quick? I want to play a statement that the Louisville mayor put out just a moment ago before we go down to the 3:30 point in this broadcast. So let's run what Craig Greenberg said here. This came out at about 2:30 this afternoon.
Good afternoon. I want to provide some updates and latest information and guidance for folks across Louisville following the tragic UPS crash earlier this week. First, at this time, there are no additional fatalities. We continue to pray that there are no additional fatalities that are discovered in the search. The NTSB remains doing their investigation on the crash site. They will have another briefing with the public later this afternoon and will continue to keep people informed about their investigation. I spoke with their lead board member on site here last night. They have a large and thorough team that is going to work as quickly as possible to get us the answers that all of us are seeking. We're also working to get access for the businesses along Grade Lane. We know those business owners and employees want to get back to their work, and the NTSB is working as quickly as possible to clear that site.
Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg, they're giving an update here this afternoon as he is now announcing they're trying to get some more access for those businesses a little later today.
Yeah, which they need.
They really need, and because the roadblock has been there. So here's our broadcast plan. If you're watching on WHAS TV 11 and you want to hear more from Ladd Sanger and his excellent analysis on this, go to WHAS 11 Plus. We are live streaming right now. That is our free app. If you don't have it, you can download it now, and we're going to continue our coverage, Connie and I, right up to 4 o'clock before WHAS 11 News at 4. So again, thank you for watching us on WHAS TV 11. We're going to continue now on WHAS 11 Plus. Welcome back to our live coverage today of the final NTS briefing, which began at 3 o'clock today. It lasted about 16, 17, 18 minutes, Connie, and the final briefing here on site.
Were you surprised when he said that this will be the final briefing?
I was. I mean, I thought it might go into next week, but
Right.
I remember after the fatal Comair crash in Lexington, they were doing 2 a day.
Right.
But now we know that their investigation seems to be so thorough because they're actually going to send NTSB investigators to San Antonio to get those records that we've been reporting so much about here.
Exactly. I believe we still have Ladd Sanger, our aviation expert, on with us. And may I ask you, the NTSB mentioned that they took the job cards. They've been given the job cards. Is that just like the crew details? Can you tell us what that is, Ladd?
Sure. So when you do a heavy check, there are basically checklists or forms that you complete, also known as cards, that explain what needs to be inspected, the tolerance for it, and how to inspect it. So the fact that they've requested those cards, again, tells us that they're focusing on this engine and its attach points. And so they'll be getting those and then analyzing what was done to it, when, by who, and what standards they applied. Did something get missed? Did something get improperly, a bolt get improperly assembled, improperly torqued? I've done a crash in Hawaii where the tail boom fell off, and they used the job cards to determine that the improper torque. An inspection was used, and it failed to detect fatigue cracking and torque of the bolts. So that would be an example of what they would be looking for on the job cards.
Okay. So, Ladd, we have some new video that was released by the NTSB to us. It's drone video. It is drone video that really shows more of a revealing picture. We're going to show that to our viewers here. But I did want to go into the clarification that they made. And there we have the debris field right there, Connie, as that drone is moving low there. Again, this video courtesy of the NTSB flying the drone. Looks like this was from yesterday with the clear skies there. You can see the airport there at the top of your screen, and this is where the jet came to a rest there at the bottom of your screen. They said they updated their briefing from yesterday, Ladd, about the jet's altitude. Important clarification that the data of 475 feet was a GPS altitude. Today, they're saying that equates to about 100 feet above the ground. So initially, much lower than many of us thought from the beginning there when we heard those first numbers come out.
I would say that the 100 to 175 feet that we've been operating on is based on the video, reasonable numbers, and so I'm glad that they got that clarified. I also wanted to offer a couple things that I think would be interesting to your viewers. The NTSB says that they're going to go to the UPS simulator, and they're running some scenarios there. And I was going to highlight some of the things that they're going to be looking for. One of the big things that they're going to look for is they're going to run engine fire scenarios, and they're going to hear what kind of audio and visual activations they get, and they're going to compare those with the persistent bell. They're also going to attempt to run scenarios with a loss of a number one engine and then subsequent loss of power on the tail engine to see how the aircraft will perform. Now, of course, the simulator data package that is used to build the simulator is not going to be able to replicate an engine falling off and all of the subsequent fire and aerodynamic changes to the aircraft. So it's not going to be an accurate representation of what this crew faced, but they will be able to verify some of the sounds that were heard on the cockpit voice recorder compared with the simulator.
Can I ask you just about the GE CF6, what you know about it, just from the things that we have seen? Certainly, the NTSB has to do their investigation, and they are the authority that we will be finding out exactly what happened. However, in 2016, after the American Airlines Flight 383 had an issue with that engine, the FAA issued in 2018 an airworthiness directive that required airliners to perform ultrasonic inspections for cracks in stage 1 and stage 2 disc in those engines. What are your thoughts about that? How concerning is it that that this was a 34-year-old plane with that specific engine? I know it's rare, but have you been thinking about that or looking much on that?
This engine will have been overhauled probably several times in the number of years. Many of those rotating components will have been replaced during engine overhauls. So, I think we need to look at that maintenance, what was done on the rotating components, the fans, the blades, and when it was done. If it was done in close proximity to this heavy inspection, that would be more telling and interesting. How many hours are on all of those different components? Because some of them get reused, some of them get replaced. There could be some of the blades themselves replaced. So it's really going to boil down to the maintenance records on the engine to see how long things have been in there, different components, and what their history is, what kind of inspections were done on them. Is there potentially corrosion? Could it have set off a very large imbalance that then caused the engine to depart the aircraft, or is it more of an attach fitting situation? So all interesting things, but it's going to be down to the maintenance records. As far as the engines themselves, the engine has been in service for a long time. It has a number, it's probably got millions of hours of safe operation. So the design of the engine is pretty well proven. You need to look at the maintenance of the specific components.
Okay.
So, Ladd, you have been with us since Tuesday, since right after this crash happened. You've been talking also to our focus investigator, Travis Breeze, for his individual stories. It's now Friday at just after 3:30. You heard the last final on-scene briefing from the NTSB. Give me your thoughts now. Have you been able to put anything together on your own theories as to just what happened? Why did this plane crash?
I think it's going to come back to the work that was done in San Antonio.
Really?
And what was done there or not done there properly or improperly. Because that's such a major, heavy inspection. So many things are disassembled and inspected. And the time proximity to that heavy inspection in this accident is telling. The second thing is that the flight crew did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they were in a horrific situation with an airplane that was unflyable. And what a terrible situation they were faced with. As a jet pilot myself, I think about those call-outs. I think about what would happen. I had just been through training in the simulator last week where we practice all these scenarios, and there's just nothing more frightful than thinking you've done everything right and you end up with an airplane 100 feet off the ground on fire that you can't control.
So we heard Tom Inman has been asked this question every day nearly about maintenance work done in Louisville. UPS has told them no, there was no maintenance work being done on this jet before it left. This would have been this jet's third flight of the day when it took off at 5:15 Tuesday. You believe that this could all very well go back to San Antonio and the month-long work that was done there.
I believe more likely than not we are going to find that there is a root of this accident that was started in San Antonio.
Okay, since you've been able to take us that pathway, tell me your theory on the cause. What caused it?
I think that I don't have exactly what caused. I know that it has to do with the left engine, but when you have a heavy maintenance inspection, the airplane is basically disassembled, inspected, and reassembled. And given the close proximity in time to that inspection and that reassembly in this accident, that is the most likely scenario of where there's going to be something that caused or contributed to the accident coming from that major inspection, disassembly, and reassembly.
Wow.
And that's what you, as an aviation lawyer, would be focusing on immediately.
Just like the NTSB is. I'd be wanting to see those job cards for the engine work, and I'd want to be seeing those maintenance records and inspection records from San Antonio.
Okay, Ladd Sanger, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We're going to, of course, be having you on again down the road here as we will be getting more information, we believe, in some other kind of form, as Todd Inman at least saying that this was the last news conference they're going to have on the scene here in Louisville. Is there, I guess now, do you feel, by the way, before I let you go, that they have made great progress here on Friday from what you heard him say today?
I think they're doing their best. This is a very difficult crash scene to deal with. The only thing I could think of that would be harder would be one that would be in the ocean. The amount of fragmentation, the debris pad, the debris field is large. It's, all of the different fires that have been there that are still burning, which I didn't expect because of the area that it impacted and the different flammable materials that were there. It's a challenging investigation. But I think that what they were able to find on the runway, they're going to send to the metallurgical lab in D.C. You heard Mr. Inman talking about that. I think that's going to be helpful. The cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder information is going to be helpful. And I think that they will be able to, years from now, we will be seeing the product of this investigation, and I think they will probably be able to come up with a pretty conclusive reason of why this engine and fire occurred.
All right. Ladd, thank you so much. We'll be talking to you down the line here. We really appreciate your expertise there. And now it gives us a focus right back to San Antonio.